In the late 1960s, when California was filled with music, hope, and the belief that the future would be brighter than the past, a presence emerged that did not shout or scream, but instead whispered through ink and paper, turning fear into a public performance. And that presence would later be known as the Zodiac Killer. It began with ordinary people on ordinary nights. Young couples sitting in cars, laughing, listening to radio, believing the darkness outside was harmless, until gunshots shattered that belief and left behind bodies that at first seemed like isolated tragedies, the kind that police departments quietly file away. But the killer did not want silence. He wanted attention, and so letters arrived at newspapers in San Francisco and nearby cities. Letters written in shaky but confident handwriting. Letters that spoke directly to the public and to the police. Letters that did not ask to be believed but demanded it. Each one signed with a strange symbol like a brand burned into the city's memory. Inside those letters were details only the killer could know. Details meant to prove control, and along with them came ciphers. Carefully constructed codes that transformed murder into a puzzle, forcing law enforcement and civilians alike to participate whether they wanted to or not, because ignoring the letters meant risking more deaths, and printing them meant giving the killer exactly what he craved. When the first cipher was finally cracked by civilians rather than police, the message revealed something far more horrifying than a name. It revealed pleasure, the killer openly admitting that killing was fun, not necessary, not emotional, but entertaining, and that single sentence shifted the fear from the streets into the mind, because it meant this was not a man acting out of desperation or rage, but one acting out of ego and intellect, someone who viewed human lives as pieces on a board, and the city itself as his audience. As weeks passed, the letters grew bolder, mocking police for their failures, correcting newspapers when they got details wrong, threatening school children in buses, turning parents into prisoners of their own fear, while patrol cars flooded the streets with no clear target, because the killer was nowhere and everywhere at once, possibly standing in line at a grocery store, possibly sitting on a bus, possibly reading the same newspaper as everyone else and smiling at the chaos he had engineered, without needing to pull a trigger. The most disturbing aspect was not the violence itself, but the calm intelligence behind it, the way the killer planned not just murders but reactions, understanding that fear spreads faster than bullets, that uncertainty lingers longer than grief, and that by controlling information he could control emotions, and when he attacked while wearing a hood marked with his symbol, tying up his victims and speaking in a steady voice, it became clear that domination, not death, was his true objective. Police chased leads. Suspects emerged and vanished. Evidence was collected too late for future technology. Witnesses remembered voices but not faces, and time slowly eroded certainty, yet the letters continued, sometimes claiming responsibility for crimes that may not have been his at all, blurring truth and fiction so completely that even today no one knows exactly how many died at his hands, which may have been part of the design, because legends grow where facts collapse. Eventually the letters stopped, not with confession or an arrest but with silence, the most unsettling ending possible, leaving behind unanswered questions and a lingering sense that the game never truly ended, only paused, because the true damage had already been done. Trust was broken, safety felt temporary, and the idea settled deep into the public consciousness that intelligence without empathy is more dangerous than brute force, that when ego and cleverness lose moral limits they can turn cruelty into spectacle, and that the most terrifying monsters are not those who hide in shadows, but those who invite the world to watch, to decode, to react, feeding on attention while remaining unseen. The Zodiac Killer was never just a murderer. He was a mirror reflecting humanity's weakness for fascination, proving that when society listens too closely to evil, it amplifies it, and the moral left behind by this unsolved horror is painfully clear. Arrogance combined with intelligence, when stripped